7:15, a 12-member authority is soon going to assume control of Mauna Kea. So what does that mean for the 30-meter telescope? Civil Beat's Blaise Lovell joins us now. And Blaise, we should start by saying it's not all about TMT. There are other issues that have been discussed. There have already been meetings. What are some of the things that they've already come to agreement on?
Right, so this new authority, they're trying to bring a lot of people on the Big Island together, astronomers, people who might have opposed TMT in the past, but they're kind of finding common ground on things like visitor access to the summit. A lot of them think that there's too many people out there. There's been suggestions that, they move to a kind of reservation system like Hanauma Bay, maybe charge tourists and let residents go up. They also want to see more indigenous knowledge, more Hawaiian knowledge being shared about Mauna Kea with visitors to the Big Island.
Yeah, you've painted a really good picture about how these meetings have gone. And it's a very diverse group that have taken sides on a very polarizing topic. What have those interactions been like?
I was at a community meeting last week in Waimea. It was really interesting to see both of those sides kind of come together in the same rooms, sitting shoulder to shoulder and seeing them agree on a few things. The dynamic there, you could kind of feel the tension, sense the tension. Right. They talked about it a little bit, but right now they're really looking at ways that they can find common ground on and the things that they can agree on.
That must have been nice to see, right? At this point, we should also mention that UH is still in control. They have their concerns about the future of astronomy. What have they brought up, and how has that been addressed?
Right. So late last year, President Wendy Hansel sent a letter to the authority. She and the Board of Regents were concerned that there wasn't enough being done to help the observatories renew their leases by 2033. That work really needs to start now. But the authority and their board chairman, John Komeji, he used the phrase, they want to move at the speed of trust. They don't want to rush things. And, they really want to build that trust in the community that they feel was lacking in the past. And they're saying that that takes time, and they're not in a rush to, favor one sector over another.
Yeah, but at the same time, time is a big factor here.
Right.
Right. And so I guess that brings the big question, what does that mean for the 30-meter telescope?
Well, a couple of things. TMT is still seeking funding. Last we checked, they were about $1 billion short. But the authority is going to have to take up a TMT issue soon. UH is seeking a policy change that would allow telescopes, and that would include the 30-meter telescope, to be built on what they call a decommissioned site, a site where a telescope was before and then it was taken down. That policy change is going to have to go through UH, and it's also going to have to go to the authority.
Yeah. I imagine even if you move the site on the Mauna, the same group that opposed it being built in the first place isn't going to be happy with that.
Right, and many of the opponents, if you could say, were at that meeting in Waimea, and they've been attending these authority meetings. Their position hasn't changed. A lot of them still don't want to see TMT on the mountain. Right now, the authority is trying to go through the sort of easier questions maybe on where you can find common ground, but they're going to have to tackle that harder question of astronomy and, by extension, TMT, in the next few months and few years.
Yeah, and real quick, there is still the potential for TMT to move out of Hawaii and be put up on the Canary Islands, right?
Right. They're talking with the government of Spain to move it away to the Canary Islands, but TMT officials still think Mauna Kea, is their first primary option.
All right, we shall see what happens. Thank you, Blaise. By the way, you can read the full article on civilbeat.org or text 66866 to get their newsletter. We'll be right back after this.